Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Evening Show right here on Smash FM here on Lockdown Friday here in Melbourne. Of course, let's go up to Sydney in particular and speak to a amazing guest we have on the show. Of course, she's not just a DJ, she also does TV presenting as well as a radio host. Of course, she's one of the most amazing recognised superstars here in Australia. Of course, her name is Jesabel. She joins us right now from Sydney. Thanks, Jesabel, for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be on the show. How good.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned prior to coming on air how strange this year has been for both of us. But for you, considering what you do normally, especially with obviously predominantly DJing, how unusual has this year been for you?
Yeah, look, it's been something I would never have expected, never have imagined. Honestly, I remember the day I went to bed on a Thursday night and I woke up on a Friday, and it was the day the Grand Prix got cancelled and everything just fell apart. And, from that point, all of my gigs started being cancelled, which was so devastating because I had so many amazing shows locked in for this year. But we've had to adapt and we've had to try and move past it and be innovative and be creative. But even that in itself, the motivation side of that is so difficult. So yeah, I've kind of spent a lot of this year trying to figure out, hey, like, what can I do instead? So I've been doing a lot of live streams, which has been good as well. So on things like Instagram and Facebook and all of that sort of business. But yeah, all in all, I just really miss the interaction with real life humans in real life situations. That sucks.
Now, compared to what's happening here in Melbourne, Sydney is not, I guess, is going better than it is down here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Is again to almost where we got to. I guess, are you worried at all that you may not be performing at all in person at all for the next couple months or even the year if it gets to that point?
Yeah, I think that that's a really real prospect, and I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible. Obviously, positive manifestation and all of that, but I'm struggling to see a way out, particularly for the rest of this year. I think because, and rightly so, when we go out and we have a good time, we're all going out and having a good time together. And that means everyone being close to each other and having a good dance. And so I'm struggling to see it go back in the same capacity, I guess, that it was prior to COVID. But always an optimist. I'm hopeful that we will be back this year. But if not, then 2021 needs to watch out. I tell you what, it's going to be a rager.
Now, I want to speak to you, obviously, prior to obviously COVID happening, now all your gigs being cancelled, especially into 2015, when you got signed in an iconic dance music label called the Ministry of Sound Australia. Tell us how that come about and what did that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, so when I first started DJing, I was doing it purely as a hobby. I'd come out of school. I was very musical in school. I did a lot of musical theatre, played violin, piano. I was mainly singing at school. So when I came out of school, I was kind of like, what the hell do I do now? Like, I want a musical outlet. I don't know what to do. So I just remember being at a party and, a friend of mine was DJing and I was like, that looks fun. So I basically started DJing just as a hobby. Got a couple of gigs, did a couple of DJ competitions for like resident DJ at some of the local nightclubs in Sydney. And somehow that got me recognised by Ministry of Sound, which I'm sure most people will have heard of. It's one of the biggest music labels in the world. And so I got signed to their agency pretty early on. It was 9 months into my DJ career. So it was not what I was expecting at all. But it was a massive, massive step for me. And it got me thinking, okay, maybe this is actually more of a career. So from that point, I kind of just took the bull by the horns and I was like, let's just do this. Like, let's go hard. And here we are 7 years later. So crazy. Yeah.
What did, I know this is going to sound a really silly question to ask because how good my intro was. I guess, what did they see in you to make them approach you and sign you?
Sure. I mean, I think that that's really interesting, an interesting question, and something I guess I get asked a bit. I think initially, it was a very male-heavy dominated industry, and I guess to this day it still is. And so, as a female and as someone who really took care of what they were doing, and I really did try my absolute best to perfect my art. I was constantly practicing and wanting to be the best at my art form, which, was DJing. And so that was really important to me. So I guess it helped the fact that I was a female, but I'm hoping what took me the length is I guess, the talent or the fact that I really did try to perfect what I was doing. So I think that's probably what would have helped for sure.
Now, on top of being a DJ, as I mentioned in the intro, you did present on TV as well as a radio host. Tell us the shows that you presented and hosted.
Sure. Okay. So I did a lot with MTV back a couple of years ago. So I was doing Clubber's Guide to Spring. We were doing top 10 countdowns. I also appeared on a show called It Girls, which was an amazing series that focused on some of the leading females, just to be honest, just in life. There were people from all different industries, fashion, influencing, and then my component, which was music, of course. So that was really, really cool. And it allowed me to talk a little bit about, what I've done and how I've got there. And I guess aid in inspiring other young females, which was really, really cool. And then in terms of radio as well, I've appeared on like 96.1, Nova, Today FM. I also tend to do a lot of their Christmas parties, which is so, so fun. So yeah, I have been given the opportunity to do some really, really cool things, and I'm forever grateful for those opportunities. And it's also allowed me to just have a really fun time with some really cool people.
Now, looking ahead, do you have any future projects or events or gigs or anything coming up?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I have been working really, really hard in this time. And throughout, I think COVID's been a bit of a blessing because it's actually allowed me to knuckle down into some things that may have actually taken me longer to do. And so this year, I'm excited to say that I will be releasing my first ever single. I'm very excited about it. I've never released before. I've had I've had a lot of experience with producing, working with other people in the past, and I've finally found the people that really work for me. So I will be releasing this year, and I'm also working on a fun little podcast with a friend. So that will also be happening. We actually recorded the first episode just yesterday. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, some really cool projects actually that are going to be coming out of the woodwork for you guys. I'm excited.
And obviously, we'll definitely promote that once it's out.
Thank you.
Looking forward to see those ones coming along. Now, for you, I have to ask, how did you get involved in music in general, especially DJing, and why did you end up choosing it?
So when I was in school, I was very, very heavily involved in musical theatre. I was in a lot of the musicals at school. I did a couple of the leading roles, such as Annie and Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. So I loved singing and performing and acting. I really enjoyed it. As well as that, I was involved in music classes all the way through school to year 12, and I did it for what we call our HSC here in New South Wales, so our final exams. Because I think you call it something different down in Victoria, right? Yeah. So basically I did it for my HSC, and then when I left, I was just kind of like, I just want something to do, and got into what was that modern day sort of musical outlet, which was DJing. And when I say modern day, I know that it's been around for a long time, but it was just so popular at the time. There was so many people wanting to do it, wanting to get into it. And so, yeah, I basically just had a friend help me. I was learning to DJ in a pub out where I lived on a Wednesday afternoon. Then I get a call from him and he's like, "You're going on stage this Friday. What do you want to be called? What's your name going to be? We need to put you on a poster. We need you to promote it." And I was just like, I'm not even ready for this. I just don't even know. So yeah. And then I ended up doing Your Shot as well, which is the DJ competition. And here we are. So crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Now, I'm going to ask the most silliest question because you mentioned before about obviously one of the promoters saying you've got to promote yourselves and all that sort of things. You've got to make a music name. Now, obviously, as I mentioned in the intro, Jesabel. Tell us, how did you come up with that? It's a brilliant music name.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, look, I was just kind of like, I literally had, kid you not, probably about half an hour to come up with a name. And as much as, my real name is Jessica, it's the most common name in the world, I think. And I was just like, it's not standout enough for me, but I wanted it to connect with my name and who I was. So I was just rattling off some names. I remember standing at a cafe. I was on break at my shift when I was in retail. And I remember standing at a cafe, writing down names on a piece of paper and seeing what looked good. And I was like, Jesabel, it is. So there we go. Yeah, it was that quick. And then I was like, here, like, what do you think of this name? And he was like, yeah, that's cool, actually. And I was like, sweet, let's do it.
And obviously stuck.
It did.
Now, of course, you've done some amazing things as you rattled off already. Is there one moment to you that stands out to you the most that really defied where you've got to now?
Oh my gosh. I really just, I hate when people ask me this question because it's like there's so many moments throughout my whole career that I've just been so grateful for, because this is not your everyday job. This is a bit of, I've always said this is an extraordinary job for an ordinary girl, because that's all I am. And it's just been so great to have these experiences. But there really is no better feeling, I think, than performing to a crowd. And I think that has to top everything that I could possibly do. I mean, a couple, for instance, doing Omnia Bali last year was incredible. I was on It's the Ship in Singapore last year as well, which was also fantastic. Ultra, one of the biggest festival brands in the entire world, performing that in March of this year was crazy. And one that I distinctly remember was performing for a university group up in Brisbane for 10,000 students all dressed in toga. It was the craziest gig I've ever done. It was the most incredible feeling. So yeah, definitely performing has to top it for me. But working with people like, MTV and Nova, Today FM, like there are some amazing people that work behind those brands as well. So yeah, very grateful for all of those opportunities.
Now, obviously you're based up in Sydney at the moment. Have you had a chance at all to perform down here in Melbourne?
Yes, of course. I love Melbourne. In fact, before COVID happened, I was probably in Melbourne every 6 to 8 weeks. Oh. And so I'd been down there a lot, and I was doing, I'm currently signed to Lucky Entertainment. So I was doing the rounds there with Lucky Thursdays, which is an absolute party. So fun. And then I was doing Crown. I did also the Australian Open earlier this year as well. So yeah, I was frequenting Melbourne quite a bit. I just loved being there. So I was always saying to my agent, my agents, I was like, come on, like, let's get some more gigs in Melbourne so I can come down and visit you guys, because it's so fun down there. But yeah, absolutely love Melbourne.
Now, you mentioned about the Australian Open. Obviously, it's the world's biggest sporting event that Melbourne has hosted, other than obviously the Grand Prix and everything else. For you, how special was that to perform at the Australian Open? And I always ask this question, all the people that attends the Australian Open, especially music artists. Did you get to meet any tennis players?
You know, I wish I could say yes, but unfortunately I didn't. No, I did not get to shake hands with Roger Federer as much as I would have liked it. But you know, that's okay. It was still fantastic being able to perform at the Australian Open. I actually did that in conjunction with ANZ, and that was, yeah, it was unbelievable. So once again, it's just these things that pop up, and sometimes they just pop up in my calendar and it's like Oz Open this date, and I'm just like, this is the craziest thing ever. Like how amazing is it that I can that I'm able to do these sorts of things that I never imagined I would have. So yeah, really, really fun. I didn't even get to watch it. I watched it on a TV while I was DJing. How crazy is that?
Now, what does the music scene mean to you now?
Look, it still means the exact same thing to me. I know that there's a lot of people who have reassessed values and that sort of thing in this time when they've had all the downtime. And don't get me wrong, I'm loving my weekends at home. I really am. I am a bit of a homebody. So part of me is just loving that, but I'm so eager to get back out there. It's not funny. So for me, I'm still just as driven to get back out there and continue on what I was doing, and hopefully push it even further. So it honestly means the absolute world to me. It defines exactly who I am and exactly where I want to be right now. So yeah, I just love music. Music's so incredible. And our industry, you know, we're a real strong industry here in Australia for music. So I love that.
Now, you mentioned that you got involved in music theatre in high school. Is that something you want to hopefully maybe somewhere down the track to go back to where it all started?
Yeah, like it's interesting that you say that. Because it has popped up for me before where I'm thinking, oh, like I wonder if I'd ever go back there. And I always say never say never. I don't think you can ever, the way things change. And I think this year has been a prime example of how quickly things really can change. And it can completely turn you on a path that you never even thought that you might go down. I mean, this career, for instance, is a great example of that for me, even because I never knew that I would be here. But maybe I will go down the musical theatre road again. I won't say never. I'm definitely into the singing. So the tracks that I will be releasing will feature my own vocals, which I'm excited about. So yeah, I'm looking forward to what's to come.
And of course, I have to ask, for anyone out there that want to get involved in DJing or things that you've done that we've listed throughout this interview, what would be your advice to them to get out there and get involved once we all get out of this COVID?
For sure. Something I frequently tell myself and tell others is when you strip it all back and you genuinely just think that there really is nothing stopping you. You can do absolutely anything that you want. Like, you know, don't put any barriers in front of you. You genuinely can do whatever the hell you want to do. That for me is that's what I tell people, because I think there should be nothing that stops you, because at the end of the day, you're only sort of stopping yourself. So if you're thinking about it and you want to DJ, go for it. Don't put any barriers in front. Don't put any glass ceilings in front of yourself. You can do it. So just give it a go. And I tell you what, it is a hell of a time. It's so fun.
Now let's finish up with a couple of lighthearted questions, which is any embarrassing moments on stage?
Oh, I mean, there would be for sure. I'm so terrible at remembering embarrassing moments. I think as soon as they happen, I just block them out of my mind so that you know, when you like rethink about something that's embarrassing and you literally pull that cringy face like you've just sucked on a lemon, that's me. So I try and block it out as much as I can. But one that happens to me quite often is sometimes when you're putting your headphones on over your ears, you may accidentally let go of one side and it smacks you straight in the face. And everyone sees it and everyone knows it, and it's very awkward, and you just have to pretend like you were meant to do it. So yeah, that's probably one of the reoccurring embarrassing moments that I have.
Now, do you have a pre-performance superstition or ritual?
No, not really. No, I wouldn't say that I do. I actually, well, in my headphone case, I carry a little pouch that has my USBs in it, and inside there is some little trinkets that my family has given me, or even people in the crowd have given me. So, for instance, there's like a little gemstone in there, and there's actually like an American dollar in there that someone gave me during a show in Australia. So I was just like, oh, I'll just keep it. So I keep those things in there as a little keepsake, I guess, and maybe they bring me luck. I don't know. But yeah, I think that's probably, for the most part, my sort of pre-show ritual, I guess.
Uh, is there any point when you introduce yourself to fans that you do in live performances that you actually forget what location you're in?
Yeah, there are sometimes. Yeah, there are times when I do that. For instance, last year, it was November, first week of November last year, I had 10 flights in 10 days. And I went from Melbourne to Sydney, back to Melbourne, back to Sydney, to Cairns, to Sydney, to Singapore, to Sydney. And by the end of that week, I didn't even realize I was at home. I was like, what, where am I? Where have I just been? And sometimes it's when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, what, like, I don't even know where I am. Like, what bed is this? What hotel is this? What city am I in? I have no idea. So that is tricky, and it is funny sometimes, but I'm so conscious as well when I'm on stage. Sometimes I worry I'm going to be like, hey, what's up, Sydney? And I'm in Melbourne. So I'm always conscious of what I'm saying on the microphone, because that could get so awkward.
I'm sure down here will forgive you for it.
Yeah, hopefully.
Now, of course, we'll finish up with this one last one, which is for everyone that should follow your music, and obviously with your single coming out very soon, sometime this year, and obviously your podcast as well. How can I go about following you on the music channels as well as on social media?
Sure thing. So pretty easy on basically anywhere that you want to find me, just search at Jesabel DJ. So Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, it will all be there. Spotify is the same. I haven't fully launched my Spotify yet, but once I have singles out, that is the best place to find them. And yeah, let's be friends. Follow me. We'll have a chat. Be good.
Well, Jesabel, thank you so much for joining us. It's awesome having you on the show. You're one of the guests that we wanted to have on the show. Obviously, we would love to do it in person instead of doing this over Zoom. But hopefully, we'll get a chance to meet you in person. And thanks so much for joining us. And hopefully, we can't wait to see your single and, of course, your podcast coming out very soon.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. It's been so nice to chat. And yes, hopefully, we can do it in person soon.
No worries, and that's Jesabel there joining us from Sydney. Of course, as she mentioned, you can we'll definitely be promoting her new single coming out as well as her podcast once it's released. And of course, and make sure you follow her on the socials and through the music channels on Spotify. There's more on the Smash Evening Show right after this here on the Friday Lockdown Edition.